Welcome to the Qigong Global Summit, presented by the Shift Network. And now your host, Sharon Rose.
Welcome everyone to the Qigong Global Summit with the Shift Network. I'm Sharon Rose, and today we have with us Bill Douglas. Bill is the founder, media director, and so much more for World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, which is an extraordinary event that happens every year and brings together a community of like-minded people in the world of Qigong, Tai Chi, probably Wushu, and TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, from around the world. He is an expert at bringing together community, having been an environmentalist, and still is, and worked with human rights. Very active person, and his wife, Angela Wong, has been very active with him in all of these realms, and it's a beautiful blending of a relationship of male and female, yin and yang. Hi, Bill.
Hi, how you doing, Sharon?
I'm okay. So tell me, your program is Tai Chi and Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the similarities and differences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our approach to Tai Chi is as a form of Qigong, and so Qigong actually, directly translated from Chinese, means breathing exercise, and also it means life energy exercise. And so they realized that there was this connection between the breath and the flow and expanse of life energy through our being and through our lives and through the world. And so there's, I think Ken Cohen said there's 6,000 forms of Qigong in the Chinese Book of Medicine. And Tai Chi, when practiced mindfully, including the breath and the experience of the energy flowing through, the Tai Chi actually becomes one of the most highly sophisticated forms of Qigong, and so that's how we've approached it. And so Qigong exercises, they're myriad, and some of them are quite simple and quite easy to do. There's sitting Qigong meditations. There's moving Qigong meditations, and then the Tai Chi is probably the most complex form of Qigong that there is.
It seems to me that Qigong really is about learning about your personal energy field, mm-hmm. and learning about healing yourself. And then when you come to Tai Chi, it's like from that perspective, you begin to encounter and work with the energy of others. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is that correct from your perspective?
Yeah. There's a great sense of community with Tai Chi, and it really does. It starts to open you to your connection with not just the people in the class around you, but I mean, there's physiological and neurological and brain changes that happen that give you this sense of being more connected to the world and to everybody. And so Qigong practice can really facilitate that. And I think one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about that is one of the things that I've kind of come to terms with over the decades of practice is that really what Qigong does is it just kind of gives us tools to kind of let go of the tension that we've held on to so that we can remember what we are. Because when you first start, you tend to think, that it's teaching you something. It's teaching you about energy and how to use it. But really, I think that when we were young, we were so in tune with that life energy, the Qi or the life energy. And so the Qigong, the Chinese call Tai Chi and Qigong a return to childlikeness. And so that really resonates with, kind of the unfolding understanding that I've had of it, because it really just gives us tools to relax out of the way of that natural radiance, that natural lightness that we are, and reestablish that innocence and that youthfulness and that vibrance and that ever expanding curiosity that we had as children. And so Tai Chi and Qigong classes tend to be very fun, even like in senior centers, because the people that come are rediscovering their childlikeness. And so that's a pretty cool aspect.
Well, it's interesting because I was just speaking with John P. Milton, and he was saying, if you ask a Taoist master what is the purpose of life, they'll tell you to enjoy it.
Uh, beautiful, beautiful. I'll be quoting him.
Well, it's really, to me, one of the beautiful, beautiful qualities of Qigong is that it puts you back in touch with exactly what you were saying, that sense of childlike wonder and a reconnection with your essential self.
Yeah, I think the Qigong exercises, the meditation as well, but the moving exercises, it's quite brilliant what the Chinese created, because in our classes, when we do the moving Qigong or the warm-ups, we do them with our eyes closed so that our awareness is completely within the experience, the sensations that unfold through you as you let your body get loosened and massaged and opened through the breathing and the gentle, relaxed exercises. And so as you're doing that, it's like the pleasure sensations of your being become the mantra of the meditation. And so it's really brilliant the way that the Chinese created that. You know what I mean? Because I kind of coined a phrase over the years, because people would say, they'd ask me, what is Tai Chi really? And I'd say, if I had to put one word on it, I would call it a gratitude exercise. And I include Qigong in that. If I say Qigong or Tai Chi, a lot of times I'm talking about both. But it's remembering what a beautiful gift we've been given in this existence that we are, and the sensations that come through the body. They're more spectacular than the most expensive fireworks display that any human entity could ever create. And they're there every time we totally let go and lose ourselves, in the unfolding sensations that expand through us when we're in the center of who we are.
So in Tai Chi, what my understanding now is that Tai Chi actually has also a martial aspect and helps you learn to protect yourself. Would you explain a little about that?
Yes, Tai Chi, originally Cultivated, was a martial art, there's different stories about how it evolved, but one of the stories is that when monks started practicing it, at that time the world was a lot more dangerous and violent than it is today, and so they needed a physical exercise because they needed some physicality to add to their meditation, but then they also needed the self-defense aspect, and so Tai Chi came out of this, the martial applications can oftentimes give you a really grounded sense of how your body is moving in motion when you're going through it. But over the decades and over the centuries, really, as Tai Chi has evolved and expanded through the world, it's taught all over the world as a martial art, which has actually been heralded by many of the top martial artists as a core element to their practice, even if they do karate or some other or wushu or whatever. But in our modern day, the medical research that has evolved on Tai Chi and Qigong has been so profound, and the thing that's changed over the centuries is that the main danger that we face is no longer human beings. The main danger that we face is stress. So what my teacher always told us was, she said, the likelihood of another human being actually killing you is so infinitely minuscule. But she said, what's going to kill you likely is stress. And so she said, these aspects of Tai Chi and Qigong that loosen our being and teach us how to flow as we go through these forms, they have this powerful stress management aspect. Now, having said that, one of the things that Tai Chi promotes profoundly is proprioception, which is our awareness of our body in space. And so what happens is, as you learn Tai Chi and Qigong, like I had a construction worker that a board flipped off of a truck. He was in my Tai Chi class, and he'd only been in Tai Chi for a few months. But he said, as that board came at him, he said his hand just went up. There's a Tai Chi movement like this. It's an out block in karate. and his hand just went up like that and stopped that board from hitting him in the face. And he said, I wasn't thinking. It wasn't something that I was thinking about doing. It's just that my hand just did that. And people have these experiences over and over again where something will fall off a shelf and then all of a sudden it'll be in their hand like that. And so what happens when people practice Tai Chi and Qigong is they find their golf game improves, their tennis game improves, everything that they do improves, and they'll catch themselves having these kind of extraordinary moments. I was at a convenience store one time, and the kid at the counter was pouring the change in my hand, and a dime hit my hand and fell off and bounced off the counter and then started going down towards the floor. And so he still had a couple of coins to pour in my hand, and so he finished pouring the coins, and then my hand just swooped down about a foot from the floor and it caught that dime, and that kid goes, wow. And I went, wow. Because it's not anything you can do and show off. Yeah, because then your brain's in the way. It's the ego gets in the way. But by practicing these things and flowing through these things, your body gets to know its self-awareness and its place in space to such a refined aspect. I had a guy with multiple sclerosis in one class, and he'd only been in the class for a few weeks. And one day his cane, I heard his cane, we were doing the moving Qigong with the eyes closed, and I heard his cane sliding on the wall, and I knew it was going to fall. And I just kind of opened my eyes and I looked over, and he bent over and his hand just swooped down and he caught that cane about 6 inches from the floor and had it in his hand. And I said, wow. And he said, I wouldn't have been able to do that, a few weeks ago. And so, it kind of blows your mind when those things happen.
So you brought up the medical aspects. I know you've been very active in that world of the economics of medicine and alternative medicine in general. Tell us a little about this work.
Yeah, when I first started teaching, it was in, my first class was in a church basement, and then very quickly I segued into yoga studios because it was, Tai Chi was considered like an esoteric practice back then. But there was some medical research that was starting to be done. So Dr. Herb Benson at Harvard was doing a lot of work. Effie Chow in San Francisco, Roger Yanka. I hate to leave people out. I want to mention Bruce Lipton's work, The Biology of Belief. But anyway, through a series of events, I ended up getting a class at my first hospital, which is Shawnee Mission Medical Center here in Kansas City. And it was such an oddity to have a Tai Chi class at the hospital that a lot of the doctors were really curious. And so it was for the public. It wasn't for the staff or the doctors or anything, but there were a lot of doctors in that first class because they were like wondering, what's going on in here? And it blew their minds. And at that point, I wasn't really thinking about Tai Chi and Qigong as a medical thing because I came to it for stress. It was, eventually I figured out I had PTSD. My father was in frontline combat for 3 years. And so it was emotional and mental stress that drove me to Tai Chi and Qigong. So I never thought of it as a medical thing. But then in that class, these physicians, there was a surgeon and a pharmacologist and an emergency room physician and a nurse. They were having incredible experiences where they were getting off their hypertension meds that they'd been on for years and years. The surgeon had had a whiplash injury that had left her with limited mobility and chronic pain. And being a surgeon, she'd been through every Western medical practice that there was. She'd had this for years. And after 8 weeks in the Tai Chi and Qigong class, she had full mobility and no more pain. And I mean, it was blowing their minds. So what they did was, this is kind of before the internet, or at least before I was savvy to the internet. And so I didn't have access to medical research like this. But these physicians were so amazed that they used the hospital database to look up Tai Chi medical research. And then they started handing it to me because they would see things that would mirror what was happening to them. And so when they first handed it to me, I was thinking, why are they giving this to me? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm a Tai Chi teacher. You know what I mean? It made no sense to me. But they kept giving it to me, and the stack got bigger and bigger. And then eventually I got the contract to write the Complete Idiot's Guide to Tai Chi and Qigong, and I had this stack of medical research, and I thought, I should write about this. People should know, because people were dealing with all kinds of stuff that could have found a great relief with Tai Chi and Qigong. And so that's what got me started on that. And now most of my classes are through hospitals. I teach for the University of Kansas hospital for people dealing with heart disease, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, chronic pain conditions. We have classes for various conditions. And then as we started our work through World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, and I got in touch with Tai Chi and Qigong teachers all over the planet, I found out that there were many teachers who were teaching in medical settings. And then I started becoming aware of the research. And then Dr. Peter Wayne, who I have to mention, wrote the Harvard Medical School Guide to Tai Chi. And that was a huge breakthrough for Tai Chi because the first thing I did was bought a big box of copies of it, and I handed it to everybody at the University of Kansas Hospital, who I had connections with. And that's what I encourage Tai Chi teachers all over the planet to do, was to, buy that book and start giving it to their local medical facilities, because every doctor needs to have that on their shelf as a reference book. So I may have gotten off your original question. I can't remember.
I was asking a little about the economic aspects of it as well.
Yes, and I've over these years, as I've gotten more and more into the medical aspect, I've become, it was right at the same time that we were having a health crisis, not only here in the United States, but really worldwide. Health costs have gone, out of control all over the world. And so because of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, I was aware of this because I was in connection with people all over the planet. And I started to look at the data, and one of the studies that caught my eye early on was Kaiser Permanente did a 20-year study. And what they determined was that 70% of the health issues that were sending their patients to their doctors at Kaiser were caused by stress, not aggravated by stress, caused by stress. And so when I saw that study, I called Kaiser and I got in touch with Dr. David Sabel, who's a medical physician there who was very interested in mind-body practices. And when I talked to him, he said, actually, if you look at the data, depending on how you interpret it, that number could go from 70% to as high as 85%. So somewhere between 70 and 85% of all the health issues sending people to their doctors were caused by stress. And then Herb Benson, who wrote the relaxation response, which every mind-body Tai Chi and Qigong teacher should have on their shelf and recommend to their students, he says that somewhere between 60 and 90% of the health issues that people face are best treated by mind-body practices, which include Tai Chi and Qigong. So we are looking at hundreds of billions of dollars of saved healthcare costs if we start making Tai Chi and Qigong and mind-body meditation, yoga, mind-body practices, proven mind-body practices as an element, a fundamental element of public education. It would be a fusion between PE, physical education, and health science. Because when you're teaching kids about the heart and about the circulatory system and about hypertension, why not teach them tools where they can observe their internal awareness and they can use breathing and visualization techniques, proven breathing and visualization techniques, to actually slow their heart rate and to lower their blood pressure. And then what happens is in 18 years, you have a whole generation of mind-body masters. And you're talking massive savings. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars over a period of years. Now, estimates are that it would only cost $30 billion a year to end world acute hunger. Only $30 billion. I mean, my God, we could change, we're talking, mind-body practices could change the world, freeing up trillions of dollars. What could we do with those trillions of dollars? I mean, the mind can, expand on that infinitely.
That is beautiful. I worked in schools for many years in the arts, music, dance, theater, and we would sneak in meditation as part of storytelling, and it had a profound effect.
Yeah.
Really profound. So on that note, give us a little practice.
Well, okay, if I could just add one thing real quick. I recently just worked on a really exciting local congressional campaign. And so I was one of the few old people in the office. Almost everybody there was, millennials. And as I was there, I met about five, I call them kids. They're young adults. They have kids now. But, when you're at my age, everybody below 50 is a kid. And anyway, they were in a class that I did at the Kansas City Art Institute many decades ago. And, when I was doing the class, I had no idea, whether it was resonating or whatever. But these 5 younger adults that I met at this campaign office, they said, Bill Douglas, they said, you're the Tai Chi teacher, right? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, I was at the Kansas City Art Institute when you taught there a long time ago. And several of them told me, that changed my life. I mean, it changed my life. It was a 6-month exposure, and it changed their lives, and so that was really, so I'm sorry. So now we're going to embark on an experience.
Yes.
On a Qigong experience. Okay. So as we let the eyes close easily and naturally, and the tip of the tongue lightly touches the gum line behind the top 2 front teeth, just feeling the sensation of the tongue touching the gum line. That starts to bring us back from the world. And feeling the breath fill us like a cool wave as we fill from the abdomen and then all the way up through the chest. And on those sighing exhales, as the shoulders relax down and away from the neck, it's our whole being, our whole field that begins to let go with each breath. Letting go of everything that we've held on to. As we drift, letting go of our grip, allowing more and more space for a lightness, a radiance that we don't invoke. It's natural. It's there all the time, just waiting for space to bubble through, to expand through. As we breathe and let go, the cool air entering our nostrils and warming as it traverses down to the airy fibers of the lungs. The wings of inspiration begin to open, to lift and light. In the very center of the mind, that pineal gland in the center of the brain, as it sighs, it just unhinges from trying to think or trying not to think. And we just drift on this opening lightness. And as we breathe and let go, there's space for that radiance that permeates all things everywhere. And with each sighing exhale, as we free fall into the nurturing, soothing arms of this endlessly expanding lightness that we are, we remember that we're connected to everything, everyone, held dearly in this light, cherished. And the more we let go, the more light there is. With each releasing breath, the heart and the mind just sighing, drifting. The more we let go, the more light there is. As we remember what we are, which is beings of light, radiant and unfolding limitlessness. Nice full breaths. Letting every micron of our being sigh that breath out, to drift, lifted in the light. And we can continue to float and drift and move in the silken radiance that we are. Even as, when the time feels right, very slowly and very gently, we begin to soft focus on anything in the room, assimilating and enjoying the transition as we do. And by enjoying the transition, we invite these silken states back along with us. Good.
So relaxing.
Yeah.
Really. So expansive.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just remembering who we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you often speak about the spiritual qualities of Tai Chi and Qigong and how those understanding and experiencing those qualities can impact our daily life.
Mhm.
So tell us more.
Yeah. When Angela and I first started creating World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, it was based on the medical qualities of Tai Chi and Qigong, because my parents both died of heart disease, and Angela's parents both died of things that could have been greatly benefited by Tai Chi and Qigong, had it been recommended more heavily by the medical establishment. But as we practice it, you start to see how it changes you. And then the medical research and the science started to evolve, and we started to find out that through the study of neuroplasticity, that our brain and our nervous system fundamentally are changed by these practices. And so one of the things, as you practice Tai Chi and Qigong, people start to tell you that you're easier to get along with. You have better relationships with people. Things don't hit you in the same reactive way. There's a bit of a delay, where you are able to notice, oh yeah, that's an external thing that's happening, and you don't react with that fight or flight response. And so some of the research on neuroplasticity has found that when people practice mind-body practices, meditative mind-body practices, the empathy and compassion parts of the brain get larger, and the fear and stress parts of the brain get smaller. And this is a huge thing, because Einstein said the most important question that you can ask yourself is the universe a friendly place? Because every step you take in your life, the world that you create comes from the answer to that question. And so as all these things started to evolve, Angela and I, we dedicated our lives over these a couple of decades now to expanding World Tai Chi and Qigong Day all over the planet, because we saw it as such a profound way to have an impact on the future of humanity. So, just for example, here in the United States, right now we imprison more of our people than any nation on the planet. Now, what's odd about that is that violent crime rates are at a 40-year low in the United States. You don't hear that in the news very much, but it's true. And so why are we imprisoning more people when crime is actually lower? And it's because it's the fear consciousness. When we watch the news, we think that the world is more violent and more dangerous. And so that puts us in a mode where we're happy to give our tax dollars to build more prisons. Now, these are tax dollars that could be used to build, a pre-K education that would include meditation, hopefully, Tai Chi and Qigong, mind-body practices. And then you'd have a lot less kids, taking the wrong path in their lives. And so there's a whole other way to approach our society and our world. And so World Tai Chi and Qigong Day is practiced all over the planet. And one of the biggest events is in Tehran, Iran. And sometimes I'll get students, when I show them the videos, they'll go, oh, Tehran, Iran, isn't that supposed to be a place that we don't like? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I like the people that I do Tai Chi and Qigong with, that I know there, and they have a beautiful event there. And I said, wouldn't you want people in Iran to have a larger empathy and compassion part of their brain and a smaller stress fear part of their brain? And I'm sure they'd like us Americans to have the same thing, right? And so we change the world through whispers and sighs. And that's what motivates me, is that I see these things having the potential of changing the planet. Not me, Bill Douglas, but I mean, it's all these people that I mentioned, Herb Benson, Roger Yonko, all these people that are doing all this good work that's getting this spread through hospitals all over the planet, that is changing people because they're coming to it for health reasons, but then it's changing their lives. It's increasing the richness of their relationships with one another, with their community, with their society, with their nation, and with the world beyond. And so over all these years, as you mentioned, I've been an activist, and more as I get older and older, I realize that what's really going to change the world is the state of human consciousness. because all things unfold from the answer to Einstein's question: is the universe a friendly place? And as we practice these mind-body techniques, more and more that answer becomes yes. Yes, it is. It is a friendly place. And so.
Thank you for this amazing, wonderful work that you and Angela have been doing. So how many countries are people participating?
We know that it's over 80, but there are events that go on that we don't know about. So a lot of times we'll see events on YouTube that we had no idea were happening in different countries. And so it's spread beyond us. We have a website, worldtaichiday.org, where any Tai Chi and Qigong teacher or school or whatever, they can hold events and they can list their events there. It's a free service for the world. And we've connected over 1 million of our website visitors to teachers all over the world. And there's no economic benefit that we get from that. We just want to change the world. But having said that, it's grown beyond us, and now it's all happening all over the planet. There's government bodies that proclaim or endorse or support events, and we have no idea about it until we read about it in the news or something like that. So it's taken on a life of its own. Yeah, World Tai Chi and Qigong Day.
So you're so much in alignment what the Shift Network is all about.
I've loved what the Shift Network has been doing. I've been following it, over time.
So it's been just wonderful to have you here. And thank you so much. And once again, everyone, have a chi-filled, beautiful day with light and love and joy. And together we can shift the world.
And
Bye.
Thank you and the Shift Network. I just want to say, thank you, Sharon, and the Shift Network and all the people involved. It's a really beautiful thing that you've done.
You're so welcome. And so are you, all of you out there.
Thank you for joining us for the Qigong Global Summit. To learn about our global community, visit theshiftnetwork.com. And please share these powerful sessions with your friends and family.